huge surprise. One of the biggest differentiators is that we have cross-channel data. In other words, we have data that can be applied and used in any channel, from mobile to web, right, et cetera, et cetera. They use modern UI adoption practices for the UX piece. They're better at integrating, and they have a design thinking approach. If you're a little bit unfamiliar with that, it starts with, what does our customer want, right? And we design from there. So they are a lot more customer focused than the rest of us out there. So again, not a huge surprise for these kinds of things. Now, the third area is really about what we call a very business performance mindset. And what I mean by that, well, let's just take a look at the numbers here. They demonstrate a digital culture. Okay, so they just have that aptitude, and it's the whole workforce doing. And actually, if you look, that's on the left-hand side. On the far right-hand side, it's not just the workforce on the left, but the leadership, the CIOs, they're very, very focused. And right in the middle, they use business-aligned metrics. So the equivalent is, if we take this presentation, is that these organizations don't just measure the green, the technology, they measure the orange and the blue. They understand that we need to measure, well, how many services are available to citizens, and how many machines should we connect in our factory, and so forth and so forth. They are very business focused. That's actually how they take care of things. And then the last one is that they're very analytics focused. So their workforce is what we call analytics enabled. So what that means is generally they make decisions based on data, hard facts, and so forth. They do use AI/ML. So it's not a huge difference. Like you can see that the orange, the leaders are just at 9% versus 7%. So it's not huge. And then, of course, they're better at data lakes that I'm actually showing here. So faster respond, business focused, and analytics focused. Now, something I'm not showing here that is also quite interesting when I was looking at the data is that things like, do you have a digital center of excellence? That was not a determinant factor, meaning that companies that were really good at digital and companies and enterprises that were less good at digital, it didn't really matter if they had a digital center or not. It was actually indeterminate, as an example. Cloud was not a huge factor at all. It's not in the top 10. Some people used a lot of cloud, some people didn't, but it didn't necessarily make them better or faster. Okay, so these are the areas that really matter to the digital leaders themselves. So to close out the presentation, focus on measuring so that you can understand how digital should I become. I've just given you some of those benchmarks. Do you want to, if you're in citizen services, do you want to be at that top level where 80+% of the services and products available to citizens and businesses, if you will, are digital? And if you were to throw money at it, if you have more money to spend, would you put it into cloud? Would you put it into AI, data lakes, and so forth? What are you actually going to pursue? You can't do that without measuring these areas. So what I've done is essentially just put all of these, the higher level metrics on a single page so that you can actually refer to them. And we do have, if you will, the detailed, very specific benchmark reports and so forth that display this industry data in a lot more detail. However, I would invite you, just to close out the presentation, if you haven't done the digital execution scorecard and you want to actually do a self-assessment, I'll leave this up for a while, you can take just a screenshot, if you will, or a photo, excuse me, of this QR code, and you'll do a very simple, rapid one. It'll allow you to take 5